All right, so thank you and you're welcome back. I was out for a bit now, but I think everything is okay. So, we want to look at how the 5 important ways of diagnosing your data before you can go ahead to do a downstream analysis. It's very important. It's very, very important. If you have a data set, what are the 5 basic important things you need to know? So I'm going to be using a particular data set called Gapminder. Gapminder. So what is it? It's like this. It's actually a package that comes with that particular data set. It's called Gapminder. So I have something like, okay, it's already there. So if I have a data set like this, or if I have a package like that comes with this data, what are the most important 5 ways to make sure that you have to do, like the way doctors will say, the vital points that you need to observe? First of all, you need to view the data. So the first thing I need to do, number 1, is view the data. So I'm going to use the word view, and then into brackets I'm going to do Gapminder is there. So yes, so when I view the data, this is how it's going to look like. You see that I have the first column is countries, followed by continent, followed by year, followed by life expectancy, population, and of course GDP per capita. So that's the one thing. So now I know country is a character. I know that maybe there is a column called country, there's a column called continent, there's a column for year, and then the years are like, we can see the years over there. Life expectancy is actually numeric and whatsoever. That's the first thing I need to do. So when I do that, it gives me a clearer understanding of what I need to do. The second thing to do is to check for the structure of the data. So you're going to do structure, and then I'm just going to put into bracket, I have my Gapminder already. So run that, and then when you fold this up, you see that it's telling me that it's actually in the form of a table, right? And then if we check, we can see that the structure has described all the variables there. The variables are actually the column names. So I have my country, I have my continent. So the country is a factor, all right? So we can about 142 levels. Then I have continent, and the continent is also a factor, 5 levels. So there are 5 continents. Then I have a year. The year is integers, so we don't have decimals. We have life expectancy, they are numbers. So numbers, you can have decimals. Population, they are integers, so no decimals. And GDP per capita is also numbers. All right, so there could be decimals. All right, so these are the first things you need to do. So you do view, that will give you a clearer idea of the number of columns that you have, and then which particular column comes first, which comes next. Then you come and do your structure, and the structure will give you this particular display. The next thing you need to do is to check for class. So I'm just going to do a class of Gapminder. So it tells me that it's a data frame. So when you come to look in the console, it is a data frame. It's a data frame. All right. So it's not a matrix. It's not a vector. It's not, let's say, an array. It's a data frame. So we know the kind of data that how the data was being built. It's a data frame. Now the third one, or should I say the fourth one instead? The fourth thing we need to check is to check dimensions. So we look for the dimensions, and then we just put into brackets Gapminder. And so I'm going to do this and run it. So it tells me that there are about 6 columns and then 1,704 rows. 1,704 rows. So when I do that, I know the number of rows I'm dealing with and the number of columns I'm dealing with. Now, the fifth thing you need to check your data before proceeding is summary. Summary of Gapminder. So the summary gives you see that wherever you have characters, you don't really have anything there. like Afghanistan. So you see that that's a country, Afghanistan, about 12, or what is it? You see Albania. Okay, so we have continent here, and we can see the summary number there. Then when we come to the year, we actually have the minimum. Okay, that's the earliest year, and then or let's say is from 2007 up to 1952. That's what it is. And then so R doesn't know that these are years. So what it's going to do is just going to like kind of calculate, do some kind of calculation. And the median year is actually 1980, and the mean year is 1980, the first quartile, and then in that order. Life expectancy, to give you all the summary, the minimum and whatsoever. That's what structure does. When you do structure, that's what it does. So that's the fifth one. Now so we've done about, so let's look at the other ones we also need to know. We need to find out whether there are some NAs in it or there are no NAs. So when I do this, I'm going to do gapminder. Sorry about that. I'm going to do gapminder, and that is there. So you see that it's going to return a boolean, and the boolean is going to say false, false, false. It will check all the rows, false, 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 false. So it means that there is no missing data, or there's no missing variable in it. There's no missing variable in it. So, for instance, if I come here and I add exclamation mark, and I said, I want to find out the opposite of this, if you run it, it's going to say true, 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 true. And then that tells you that there is actually no missing value. So when you check through, you won't find a single false anywhere. And that tells you that your data, there is no missing value. If there was, then you would have realized that the missing values are over there. Now, the sixth one we need to do is we could actually use glimpse. Glimpse come with dplyr. So if you don't have it, you may not be able to. So I can do that one. I have. So the glimpse also is kind of like what is it? A structure, but it gives much more information. So if you look at the countries, so we have rows, number of rows, 1,704 columns. I'm talking about this place. So we also have countries, and all the countries will be there. The continents are there in that order, and then you can look at the year and whatsoever. It also tells you that the first one is a factor integer, and then what is it? This is double, like if in coding a double, and then of course integer, and then a double. A double is the same thing as like the numerical in some sense. So these are the various ways through which you can actually diagnose your data before you go ahead to do downstream analysis. Let me go over again. I'm saying that you use view. The view allows you to know the number of columns that are there. If it's a data frame, then and then which particular column comes first, which comes next, and then in that order. You could have used any of this just alone, but it's always good to check all of them. Just check all of them in the case you are missing anything somewhere. So, for instance, if you wanted to check the columns individually, you could actually, like, if you want to know whether the life expectancy, so I could do gapminder, and then I'm just going to bring a dollar and then say maybe life expectancy. So I want to find the mean of life expectancy. So when I do that, if I run it, you see that the mean comes. If there was a missing value, then you will see NA. So the life expectancy is actually 59 years, and I think this should fall within Africa. So these are the 5 or more than 5. These are the various preliminary things you need to do to your data before you can begin to do any other thing. So when you find the missing data, you have to find a way to make sure that you have you take that out. I actually have a video on data cleaning and data reshaping. I'm going to do that video momentarily, and then you watch out. So that's it about how to be able to check for your data and to be able to find out whether your data is clean or it is not clean before you can go ahead, and to know which particular variable will use, or which one is a factor, which one is not a factor, which one is numeric, which is double, whatsoever. They are all things you need to check. Great. I hope you've learned something small. And then thank you for listening.